I'm Danny from Boss, and this is the GX100, the next step in Boss's very long history of multi-effects processors. Let's check it out together today. The Boss GX100 is the first Boss multi-effect with a color touchscreen. That makes it quick, intuitive, and easy to dive into a processor that gives you great tones and great results with a fast user interface. If you're familiar with the GT1000, the GT1000 is our flagship multi-effects. The GX100 shares a very similar DNA. It has many of the same effects and amplifiers, as well as the AIRD technology, which makes your guitars and amps feel and play dynamic and feel like a true amplifier experience should. The biggest difference, other than the touchscreen, is we also have added the ability to dynamically assign DSP effects blocks to anywhere in the chain. What this means is that you have up to 15 blocks of effects that you can put anywhere in the chain in any amount. So if you're like me and you want to cascade 5 distortion pedals into each other to make the ultimate distortion sound, you can do that with the user interface and the flexibility of the GX100. We've also added the ability to connect to Bluetooth with the GX100. Using the optional Bluetooth adapter, you can connect the GX100 to its companion app for tablet or phone, and you can also stream Bluetooth audio into the device so that you can play along to your favorite tracks. So let's check out the first patch, the GX Dual Drive. So on the front, you have 4 control knobs. When you're in the main patch area, these 4 knobs are assignable. So if you want to have quick access settings, these can all change per patch. Pretty cool. If you page over, you have a different view of the patch. And if you page over again, you have a little bit of a layout of how everything works. Pressing the touchscreen will switch between your different patches, as well as your banks here, which is of course mirrored on the foot switches. If you hold the C2 button down, you go into manual mode, which is much like a conventional pedal board. You can turn all the effects off with the touchscreen, or you can use the foot switches, which is all assignable in the control section. Pressing effects gets you into the signal chain. Now, if you press any of these hexagonal effects blocks, you'll turn them on and off. You'll see that the 4 knobs below the screen are all corresponding to the settings available in each block, and you can page over to access additional settings. If you want to add an effect to your effect chain, click on the effects palette and simply take the effect you want to add and just drag it into the signal chain. If you want to add another one and say override the current one, just drag it on top of the one that you want to delete and hit OK. So let's check out another patch. This one is called Drive plus Octave Clean. This one's a fun one, Synth Lead. And this is a great one. Rotary sounds awesome on the GX100. So let's make our own patch. Press right, go to initialize, and hit execute, and hit it OK. So once you've initialized a memory, you have some default assignments of simple amp setup and this is a good way to get started building your first patch on the GX100. Press Effects, and you have your signal path. Now you'll see by default, there's a divider added. Dividers are cool because you can have two different signal paths that you switch between, or dual signal paths in stereo. So I like to have a natural amp. I usually like to have a little bit of compression, but I want the compression to only be on the divider side. Let's put a delay there as well. Turn on the delay. Now if I hit the divider, in this case it's assigned to C1 here, hit the divider. So it's like a completely different sound. Now let's add an overdrive. Take away this boost, delete it, bring in an overdrive. Press it, bring it into the signal channel. So one of the things that I like to do and highlights the flexibility of the GX100 is what you can do is you can have assigns happening in your patch. If you hit Control and go to Assign Settings, you'll see a series of different sources and targets. If you want to have Manual 1 be assigned to, say, the overdrive, all you have to do is activate the assign, go to Category, find the overdrive, and make sure it's on parameter on-off. Now the overdrive is assigned to that button in manual mode. If I want to add the delay to that button as well, I'll go and find Manual 3, because that's what the delay is currently set to, and I'll set that to Manual 1. So now these will switch both the delay on and off and the overdrive. So there are lots of in and outs on the GX100 that are very handy for you. You have stereo outputs, a headphone output, you have send and returns to have an external effect, or you can have it set up to work with your amplifier in 4-cable method. You also have an amp control here, which allows you to foot switch functions that are on your amplifier with the GX100's patch changing. You also have a control jack for additional foot switches. You have MIDI, which is very handy, and you also have USB recording as well as USB MIDI in and out. One cool thing about the GX100 is when you're dialing in your patch, you can use your finger on the touchscreen to change the settings of each effect block, but you can also use the clicky buttons underneath the screen. Additional to that, if you click on the hamburger in the top right corner of the screen, you have knob view, and this kind of gives you a much more detailed view of what's going on with what effects and a good way to see what all your parameters are set to. You can switch between all the effects here, and you have a much more robust amount of parameters on the screen at once. You can use your fingers to select, or you can use the knobs below the screen. So the cool thing about the GX100 is that if you're used to the user interface of a lot of our other Boss multi-effects, you're going to be right at home with the GX with the added benefit of having a little bit of touchscreen added to the mix. Makes things a lot more easier to get good sounds and have fun. If you're lost and have no way to get home, if you press Menu and go to Information, it'll give you a QR code that takes you directly to the very detailed manual on our website. So that was the GX100, the newest effects processor from Boss. It's fun, it's easy to use, it sounds great. It's a very inspirational device to have at your fingertips or your feet. So I hope you enjoy it and have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Long and McQuaid, where the music begins.